We have an all-Polish-speaking Roland Garros Women's Singles Championship with two-time defending champion Iga Swiatek taking on first-time Slam finalist Jasmine Paolini. Iga being here is not a surprise at all, but man, who could have predicted Jasmine Paolini to make it here? Looking at my full predictions, I have Swiatek and then Gauff in the semifinals alongside Paolini and Keys, and then in the final, I have Iga going against Jasmine. Oh my gosh, how did he predict that? He definitely needs more subscribers. Hey, I'm Christian Basnight, and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. Iga Swiatek became the first woman to reach 3 consecutive Roland Garros singles finals since Maria Sharapova did it in 2014, beating Coco Gauff 6-2, 6-4. This marks Swiatek's 11th win over Gauff in 12 meetings, and she's now beating Gauff here in the tournament 3 years on the trot. This was very frustrating, to be honest, as a Gauff fan. I'm just going to start off blunt because it could have been much more competitive than what it was, in my opinion, but Coco just did not give herself an adequate chance in this match. I really do think it's more of a mental thing at this point, because personally, Coco could have at least won a set here. The opening set could have been more competitive, definitely, than 6-2. Coco had break opportunities in Iga's first 2 service games, but Swiatek, as she often does, brought the goods when her back was against the wall, while Coco did not lock in well enough whenever she had chances to break, and I believe on 2 occasions, 2 break opportunities, she missed returns. Now, Gauff did dictate the opening set, but not in a good way. She hit 12 winners to 18 unforced errors. Iga, meanwhile, only hit 2 winners to 5 unforced errors, although she did get some near winners due to forced errors she got from Coco. Iga did not even play her best tennis in the opening set, but she didn't really have to because Coco did not even make her play, which I thought was smart from Iga, you know, kind of being steady overall and letting Gauff give her opportunities to make a lot of unforced errors. Gauff just went for way too much, way too soon, and she didn't even try to actually build the points, just going for shots like right off the first ball she had, first ground stroke she had, which is not just smart tennis. Now, Coco by nature is no Naomi Osaka, and I know I probably mistakenly said that she needs to adopt more of a Naomi Osaka type of game style and go for a lot more on her ground strokes, but her typical game style just is not going for winners almost immediately. She is more of someone who uses her defensive skills well and varying spins to trouble her opponents. Gauff is also a tough player to play against because she moves so well, and also, she has 2 different shots on her ground strokes. Her backhand, for one, is so flat, and her forehand is so spinny, so you're getting 2 completely different looks. But Coco's typical game style just does not work well against Iga. If anything, Iga likes playing Coco. It takes someone like a Rybakina or an informed Ostapenko to really trouble Swiatek with their flat ground strokes that really go through the court and are able to rush Iga in that extreme forehand grip that she has. Iga is not troubled by counter punchers or consistent baseliners, which is why she is so dominant. Now, Coco, I believe, does have the potential to be more aggressive overall, but just like I said, flat out redlining and going for a winner every other shot is not going to cut it. And as well, she just hit way too many balls in the net. A big issue, though, also for Coco is that she does not have that one kill shot. You know, she cannot properly finish the point, especially against Iga, whenever she has a ball that sits up in her wheelhouse, especially on that forehand, man. It's one of the biggest things her team needs to work on with her. Because of that, she doesn't have the appropriate skills for her to finish up at net against Iga, because her approach shots always either land short or they don't have enough direction or good placement on them to really get Iga out of position. I thought that Coco did not do a well enough job of using her strengths to her advantage in this match, especially with her spins and her defensive skills that she has. There's one point, I believe, where she hit the high heavy spin, almost like a lob, to get herself out of trouble and back in the point and ultimately draw the air from Swiatek. And I think that's something she should have really done a better job of doing throughout the match. Also, that strategy of going high and heavy to Iga's backhand, using her forehand, Coco's forehand, like she did at Cincinnati last year and in last year's Roland Garros quarterfinal, would have been a good strategy. She did change her ways at the beginning of the second set. It was more consistent and it paid off. Now, there was a moment of controversy as at 6-2, 1-2, the 15, Iga hit a serve on the line, but the linesperson mistakenly called it out. The umpire overruled that call and awarded Swiatek the point, which was a mistake because, as Gauff told her, the out call was made before Coco made contact with her return. Coco told the chair, "I didn't even finish my follow through." He, being the lines person, called it before I hit it. "Can you go ahead and ask him?" The umpire said that she could not ask, to which Coco replied, "The crowd is booing because you're wrong. I have the right to finish my swing." The umpire said the call did not affect Coco's shot, and then Coco finished with, "This is the second time this has happened. It's a Grand Slam semifinal. Know the rules of the game." A similar situation happened to Coco in Dubai earlier this year, except an out call was made after her opponent made contact with the ball after Coco hit a serve that was called out but was actually in. However, in this situation, the umpire did not give Gauff the point like he should have, despite him being wrong and the Americans' pleas for a second opinion. I think incorporating video replay in tennis is long overdue so that situations like these don't happen. It can be avoided. Gauff even said in her press conference after the match that it's ridiculous how tennis is one of the few sports that doesn't incorporate the technology, and that it sucks from a player standpoint to go back online and see that they were right all along. And I completely agree with Coco. There are so many instances like these, and then like with the Rublev thing in Dubai also, where VR would have helped so much de-escalate conflict like this. Coco was understandably frustrated and even cried briefly due to once again being wronged by an umpire in an important stage of the match. She composed herself nicely though and broke that same game, so kudos to her for her mental composure. Gauff's 3-1 lead was short-lived though, as Iga broke back immediately to win the last 5 of 6 games of this match. To me, the biggest problem for Coco is her lack of depth that she has on her shots. Iga punishes Coco in a way that no other player can. I've been watching Coco throughout this tournament and just sometimes cringe whenever she hits her ground strokes, especially her forehand, because a lot of times her balls land right near the service line and it's short, and she's able to get away with it against so many opponents. But I cringe because I'm like, Coco, Iga will eat that right on up, and it happens every single time. One journalist, Ben Rothenberg, posed a great question on Twitter, asking basically, does Coco need to do some big changes to her game in order to better counter Swiatek in these matchups? And I honestly think she does. Iga is by far her biggest problem and is standing in the way of her winning big titles, and Swiatek is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon. I think it would be beneficial for Coco to build a better overall aggressive game style that she can keep in her back pocket whenever this type of consistent, loopy spin stuff doesn't work as well. And I also think a big improvement that she needs to make is her serve. It's ridiculous that Iga is out serving Coco consistently. Her first serve in, her first serve points won, her second serve points won, were all better than Coco's. And Coco, I thought, was, had the edge in the serve department, but now Iga, she's made changes on her serve, and now she's surpassed Coco, which makes this matchup even more harder for Gauff to get on top of. Now, if Iga wins on Saturday, they will mark the 4th straight time that Coco will have lost to the eventual champion here at Roland Garros. And Coco, I feel, literally could have won at least 5 Grand Slams by now at the age of 20, which just shows you how the team simply is not tapping into her potential like they should. It must be demoralizing mentally for Gauff to keep getting handed these routine straight sets losses by Swiatek. And I think it's far, far worse than the Serena-Sharapova rivalry, because those two played 22 times over the span of 15 years. Meanwhile, Coco and Iga have only been playing for 2-3 years max, and they've already played now 11, 12 times. It's not looking good for her. And the main concern I have for her is her mental side. To keep getting these straight sets losses has to do something for her mentally. And I think that we also saw today that she did not have belief out there. Even when she had the break, she did not have the belief to consolidate the hold and to ultimately win the second set. And comparing it to the Serena-Sharapova rivalry, a lot of those matches were competitive, even though a lot were straight sets wins for Serena. Sharapova was able to push Serena to maybe 6-4, 7-5, even tiebreak sets, more routinely. So it's definitely, like I keep saying, a cause for concern. I do have to credit to Iga, of course, for another great display of tennis today. It wasn't her best, of course, but she adapted so well to what Gauff threw at her and proved once again why she is the world's best. Swiatek has been truly unstoppable since that Osaka second round match where she faced a match point. And there, in that Osaka match, she lost 17 games alone. And then in her 4 match following that match, she dropped a total of 17 games. It looks like she will win her first major after facing a match point, but Jasmine Paolini will have something to say about about that. The 12th seed has had a solid road to her first major final, beating 2 Grand Slam champions en route, first Bianca Andreescu in round 3 and then Elena Rybakina in the quarters. She then dominated 17-year-old Mira Andreeva in the semifinals today, 6-3, 6-1. Briefly giving my thoughts on that Paolini-Andreeva match, it was a very clean match from Jasmine. She hit 14 winners to 10 unforced errors. Andreeva, meanwhile, was very off. She hit 9 unforced errors to 11 winners. And Paolini did not really need to do much special except for remain steady and play the big points better. Jasmine also had great service numbers out there. She hit 80% of her first serves in, and she won 67% of points off that first serve and 58% of points off her second. It was a good run for Mira. You know, she still is so young at only 17 years old, and I think that having this experience will do nothing but aid her whenever she will get to this stage again, which I'm sure she will. Now, overall, Jasmine just handled the moment much better, and I could not be prouder of her. I've known about Jasmine Paolini for about 2 to 3 years now, and she is 28 years old and has been on the tour for a minute, so I guess you can consider her a late bloomer. However, I didn't start following her as closely until the Black Spin Global podcast tweeted about her a lot and gave her the coverage that she deserves. So shout out to them for that. Y'all should definitely check out their podcast wherever you get your podcast. Jasmine is melanated, by the way. Her dad is Italian and her mom is Ghanaian, Danish, and Polish. Anyways, I was wowed by her ball striking abilities at the start of this year, and I've been following her ever since. It's been so great to see her just checking off these milestones. First in Melbourne, where she made her first slam second week, and then she won her first 1,000 title about a month later in Dubai, also cracking the top 20 in the process. And now here, she made her first slam quarterfinal, first slam semifinal, and now her first slam final. And she's guaranteed to at least crack the top 10, sitting at 7 in the rankings. Paolini would crack the top 5 if she were to do the impossible and take down Iga here on clay, which would be an uphill battle for a few reasons. First, Iga leads the head-to-head 2-0, with their last meeting being at the 2022 US Open first round, which she won 6-3, 6-love. I would not be paying too much attention to that result because Jasmine is a much better player now as opposed to then. Talking about her game a bit, she is a solid ball striker from the ground. Her forehand definitely is her deadliest weapon out there, and it will be interesting to see how that one fares against Iga's forehand. Jasmine is also an excellent mover, and she defends very well, and that defense really shines on the clay. She's able to get herself out of trouble so many times, especially against Rybakina, and that truly frustrated the 4th seed in their match. She's also pretty solid at the net, and is currently in the double semifinals here with Sarah Irani. Her backhand is a solid shot too, especially the cross-court backhand, and Paolini does have decent variety. The Italian is also a great returner, but the serve will be the biggest outlier here for her, unfortunately. Jasmine's serve is relatively weak, and Iga will surely make her pay for her weaker second serves. Her first serve percentage needs to be high as heck in this match. It is important that Paolini maintains good depth on her shots consistently, because if she leaves a ball short, Iga will make her pay like that. I think that Jasmine is going to need to continue using the forehand as a weapon, because Iga will not give her much, I'm sure. And I predict Iga to come out in this final like she did against Gauff here in the semifinal, just being pretty solid and just steady overall and waiting for her opponents to give her a bunch of errors at the start. Having an early start is for sure vital for Jasmine, or else the match could just slip from her fingers like that. Iga is far more experienced at this stage, and that will aid her extremely well here for sure. Jasmine, though, has nothing to lose, being the big underdog, but this will by far be her biggest match of her life. She handled the pressure well against Andreeva, as that semifinal was her former biggest match of her life, but this is going to be a whole other challenge, I feel. I could picture this possibly going for her like it did for Karolina Muchova when the Czech played her Iga in last year's final, where Iga dominated at the beginning, of course, and then Karolina kind of took advantage of an opening and nearly won the match. But if Jasmine does get into a position where she could close like Karolina did, I don't know if she could, due to the nerves and weight of the occasion. Overall, I don't think that Paolini has the type of game style that can really trouble Iga, and with the numerous factors stacked against her, including that comparative lack of experience here in this championship stage, I will be going with Iga to win this 6-3, 6-3 to hoist her 4th Roland Garros title and 5th slam overall. Those are all my semifinal thoughts, and let me know in the comments how you feel about this lopsided Coco Iga matchup and what you think Gauff team needs to do in order to change the tide. Also, does Jasmine have a solid shot at shocking Swiatek in Saturday's final? Jesus, that alliteration. Make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post my final recap video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Christian once again, and I'll see y'all next time here on Christian's Court. Thank you.